Hello and welcome to Americans Talk Australian Survivor. I'm Rachel.
I'm Leah.
And I'm Matt.
Thanks for joining us. We just watched episode 2 of Australian Survivor Brains V Brawn 2, and there will be spoilers ahead. We open up on the Brains tribe, and we see that Kalen is making a little business for himself. He's opening up coconuts, he's passing them out, he's calling himself a bartender. It looks like they're having a great time.
Yeah, they all seem to be very happy with the coconuts.
Yes.
Some fresh coconut sounds good, doesn't it?
It does.
Yeah, it does.
Well, wait, real quickly. It says that he has his PhD working in drones, and he's hoping that everyone thinks of him as a guy on vacation.
Right. He's a smart guy.
Trying to play it cool.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting that his drones are flying over Antarctica.
Yeah, who knew that was even happening?
Yeah.
Meanwhile, over on the Brawn tribe, things are not quite as happy. Nash is upset that someone turned on him, and he goes over to Zen, who's his ally, and he says, someone didn't vote for me. I don't know who it was. Was it you?
And he says, yes.
Yeah, he just said, well, I wanted to flush the idol, and not really like an apology or
no, not at all. No.
Preparing.
Yeah, and Nash seemed to be fine with it. Like, okay, we can still be friends. Just, that's not cool or something. And I'm like, really? Well, first off, why did Zen even say that he flipped?
I guess he's trying to tell the truth. But I like at the end, Zen said that he blindsided Nash, which is true, right? He did his own
A blindside is when you go home, I feel.
No.
I think he's still actively trying to blindside Nash.
No,
Right.
I hear what you're saying, Matt, but I think a blindside is any vote.
All right.
Then back to
I see what you're
Brains.
saying.
And I was getting a little tired about Kent. He's practically crying because it took him 10 seasons to get on Survivor. There's so many things in the world, and this man is crying because of Survivor. I'm like, oh, come on. And he's saying that some people tried out only 1 or 3 times, or some young people didn't even have to wait to get cast, but I don't know.
And then
I thought it was nice to see his struggle to get on Survivor
really?
because it shows us how much he really wants this and how much the show means to him. And I thought it was an interesting take that he has all the money in the world, but it's not going to buy him a game or a spot on the game of Survivor. So I thought it was nice to see a little humanistic side of him.
I see. All right. It's nice to see 2 different sides. And also, then all of a sudden, Kent, well, not all of a sudden, Kent is still trying to get Miles out, right?
he is
Yeah, and that's-
like an insect eating its prey.
Oh, that was horrible, his description.
Yeah, the praying mantis. He keeps saying that Miles has a low EQ. He doesn't know how to talk to people. He's doing too much strategy chat, which I guess we didn't really see a whole lot of in episode 1. They showed us some clips of him talking and trying to get people to, this is who we have to go after. So I can see how it could be a little bit annoying, but I was surprised by how ferocious Kent was with his distaste for Miles.
Yeah, it's very interesting.
It is, and it doesn't seem like he has that distaste for anyone else. Like he doesn't have a number 2 in line
Right,
of who
he's
he wants to get rid.
fixated.
Yeah, it's odd.
He is pretty focused on the age gap. So Kent is the oldest and Miles is the youngest. So I wonder if that is somehow he feels that the young people are going to flip and get out the oldest guy. So he wants to take out the young one first. I don't know exactly what's going on there.
We've seen it happen, but Miles doesn't necessarily come off as the youngest person, I don't think. I mean, it seems like there's a group of younger people in my eyes. I don't feel like he's like noticeably younger than other people.
I agree. I agree with you, Matt.
Yeah.
But I guess, Kent is spending more time with Miles than we are. That's for sure.
He knows the inside scoop a bit better.
Yeah.
And then Indy gets a little talking, or
A profile.
yes, and she talks about how her goal was to take a back seat and that she's a businesswoman. And then she confronts the women that they did not talk to her first, that, why they already have a plan. Why didn't they include her in the beginning?
I see her point, right?
I do too.
Right.
Yeah.
So there's 4 of them together, and then they're like, oh, we better get her, or 5 of them, whatever, and then we better get Indy into the group. I see what she's saying, but stick with the group. You never know what's going to happen.
Yeah, they've already kind of created their name for the Alliance, the Coven. It's Logan, Laura, who else is in there? Everyone else, and there's Zara and Karen, and they're all pretty strong with this all-girl alliance. So I see how Indy feels that she's left out, but she seemed to really be upset about it, and I think that, it was a little bit too much for day 3 or 4, whatever day we're on.
But maybe when you're out there, you're alone, and you see all these people getting along, and you're not part of it, it has to be very discerning.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I can tell that it's definitely been getting to her. Meanwhile, Laura is very happy, and she said that she is really liking this coven of witches, and she thinks that Rich could be a shield for them. Laura feels a strong relationship with Rich, and Rich wants to come in to the cross-gender alliance and join the women's alliance, and Rich had a very interesting perspective. He works in movies, and he's telling us that morals are out the window because he's in a movie and he's playing the game of Survivor. So I was excited to watch him talk, because that's what you want to see on your TV, is someone who's not playing by morals, who's going to do anything to win, and who's seeing this as kind of like a fake out-of-life experience.
Right. He seems like an annoying guy to probably hang out with for that long, for 24 hours a day, but it is going to add more excitement to the game as long as he sticks around.
Absolutely.
All right.
So,
he also said something like he's going to let the women think that they're in control. And then he said action.
Right. That was funny.
That was pretty good.
it's really leaning into his movie analogy.
Right.
Then we head on over to the reward challenge, where the contestants are offered a choice of either fish or gear as their reward. And they think it's worth playing for.
Yes. Well, before they talked about that, JP pointed out to Max, "Where's your hat?" And then the Bronze seemed pretty upset that Candy was gone. And they found out that the idol was flushed. So I thought that was interesting that before the reward got started, there was some talk.
Right. And they talked about taking the fishing gear over the fish. That's what they talked about.
Yeah, and so I thought that it was interesting that the Brain Tribe knew that Nash's idol had been flushed. They announced that pretty clearly on. They were surprised that Nash played it and didn't go home.
Right.
So it seems that, unfortunately, Nash's big move isn't really coming off that great, because now everyone knows that he had an idol. Everyone knows he played it on the first night. And now that it's flushed. So it's really lost its power. And while it was a great episode to watch last night, I don't think that it advanced him very well in the game as it could have.
No, I don't think so. Kind of flopped. He could have played it much better.
But wait, what about this puzzle? I mean, the whole...
The reward challenge?
The whole reward challenge. This is really exciting. This is an interesting puzzle piece.
It was fun how they slid down there and then they couldn't stop and went and flipped into the sand. I mean, it's fun to watch.
Yeah, it looked like a pretty intense challenge. You're going down the slide, you're grabbing the sandbags, you're knocking over the puzzle, then you have to do a puzzle in the water.
Right. Well, it was impressive that some people went down the slide and were able to grab 2 bags. That's pretty cool. I mean, there was a big list. I mean, he was going, Logan grabs 2, PD grabs 2, Miles grabs 2, Kent grabs 2. I mean, there was a lot of people.
Right. Yeah. And then into the water. Go on. Sorry, Rachel.
We also, of course, see Nash saying that he wants to take a turn knocking down the puzzle pieces. I feel like we're watching last night's episode all over again with the puzzle.
And then they let him.
Yeah, they let him.
That's even funnier.
Didn't do a great job.
It looked like he couldn't get it far enough. Like he didn't have enough energy to throw it that far. And, those young guys with their big muscles are like whipping it past the target,
Yeah, surprising choice. I did see Noonan kind of press back a little bit, so we saw that their rivalry is alive and well in this episode. So the Brains are the first to get to the puzzle, and Indy's standing up, directing them in the water where to go. Polly is over there for the Brawn doing the puzzle, and it was a close call. It was literally down to 2 pieces.
Right.
I was impressed by how well everyone did.
It really was neck and neck because they had a great lead. The Brains had a great lead.
Yeah, it was close, but the Brains came out victorious, and they won the reward.
But I wouldn't want to be up there calling that. That sounds very difficult, right? I mean, It's a bunch of people who you just met a few days ago, and then you're trying to rotate the pieces, and, you can see it in your head how it's supposed to go, but telling the right person what to do and getting it, it was a cool puzzle.
Yeah, Indy and Polly did a great job being the callers for the puzzle. And it was interesting because Indy was on the puzzle for the challenge last night as well. So she seems to really be bringing it with her challenge skills for the Brain Tribe.
And the puzzles, right.
Yeah, that's for the puzzles. So then back at camp, they get to choose, do they want the gear or do they want the one large fish? What would you guys have chosen?
It looked like a lot of fish. I mean, they could have eaten for a long time, but you never know when your next meal is coming. And then so many times we've seen on Survivor, they get this net, they get this spear, they get some fish, and they never get enough fish to feed everybody, to make everybody happy, right? I mean, they never catch, like a big fish you see in the grocery store or something, right?
No, you're correct.
So they always end up with these little tiny fish that hardly have any meat on them. I don't know. There's that huge fish there that they could have really gotten a lot of protein and a lot of energy.
They could have for one day, but it's really just one meal because you can't preserve a fish like that out in the wild. You have to eat it right that second. And so I don't know. For me, I was thinking if I were on the tribe, I would say let's take the gear because right now you have everyone on the tribe. You have your strongest, most fishing-oriented players that you're going to have in this whole game here right now. Let's see what we can do. And then that way, if you do a tribe swap or a merge later on, maybe you get some other people in that know how to fish. I think having the fishing gear in the game is a benefit overall.
Well, hopefully someone got to eat the fish. The crew, I hope.
Oh, yeah, that's true, yes. Oh, and
I'm sure it didn't go to waste.
It did come with a knife, too.
Yes.
So that's good.
Yeah, so they got some good items.
And did you notice that Max, they noticed that Max had a new hat, thanks to Indy. Indy made him. And then Karen was complaining about the shelter, saying we have a horrible shelter. And then Allie says, all right, here's a way we can make it better.
Yeah, so we see the girls redoing the shelter, but Rich isn't so happy. He said it's his day off.
Right, he's complaining.
Which I thought was an interesting phrase, a day off on the game of Survivor. You don't hear of those too often.
Right.
They did just have a challenge, even though it's not the immunity challenge or tribal council. You really don't take a day off in Survivor, in my experience from watching. But
but you saw him dancing up there. I mean, it was crazy.
Yeah, so I think he's definitely going to make for good TV. He's going to add some drama, but we'll see how far it gets him in the game with his relationships. So then Karen is pretty agitated by this, and she pitches Rich to the Girls Alliance. She said, he's not helping, let's get him out. He's
the linchpin, she said.
Yeah, it was interesting, though, that then Karen went to Karen and Allie went to Indy at night to tell them about Rich. And Indy wasn't so sure. She kind of felt like they were telling her what to do. I don't know why they did it at night, though. Do you think there was like a reason that it was kept secret, or was that just the time of the day that they got around to it?
I don't know.
It did seem to stick out a little bit there that it was at that time because so much happens in daylight and so few things happen at nighttime, unless it's something, deceiving.
But Indy says right away, she's questioning out loud. She questions why was she behind in knowing this information? So
Which
once
is a
again,
fair question,
right?
Maybe a little bit later on, though. There's 12 people in the on the tribe. It's a little soon to be saying, I'm not your number one, and I should be.
Well, I think Zara pointed that out. She said, "Listen, the first time they talked to Indy. Zara said, look, there's so many of us. We have to someone has to throw something out, and we just have to agree at this point."
Yeah. Yeah, I think that Indy's playing a great game in advocating herself, and it would be a great post-merge game. However, we're pre-merge, and we're before even the first tribal council, and I think it's unfortunately a little bit too much at this point in the game.
Yes.
So then we move on.
You're saying her reaction is too much?
Yeah, just trying to say, you didn't tell me, and I get it, but you've got to kind of play with everyone and make friends at the beginning. So then we head into the immunity challenge. Indy's the one sitting out, and it's quite the challenge. We have to untie a bunch of knots, and then someone's standing on top of this big roller. That looked horrible as they're like pulling it along and picking off the sandbags, and you've got to, throw the bags and get the target. It's what a challenge.
That spool did seem a little scary to be up there because once you slip, you're coming down.
Yeah, but AJ did a very nice job. They were saying, JP was saying Jesse as a skateboarder should do a really nice job, but AJ ended up outperforming him.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like one of those, how they put those logs in the river and they roll on the logs?
Yeah, right.
Like a gigantic log like that.
Yeah, and AJ's occupation is a poker champion, so you would certainly expect the skateboarder to do better, but he surprised us. So the Brains got to the end of the challenge first, to that point where they were tossing the bean bags onto the targets. But the Brawns just came out of nowhere and got all 4 of theirs just like one after the other. It was absolutely crazy. I couldn't believe what was happening, how quickly they won the challenge.
Right.
So it seemed like Ben really pulled it out for the end of the challenge. He seems to be a great asset to the Brawn.
Mm-hmm. He probably practiced with beanbags.
Yeah.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah. So this was exciting to me that we're seeing the second tribe go to tribal council. This is what we want at the beginning of the season, to get to know everyone. And you hate to see one tribe getting picked off episode after episode. So it looks like it's going to be a good season from that point of view.
I agree.
I felt like they were going to be going to the tribal because we just had so much confrontation with their tribe from the beginning of the episode.
Yeah, you're watching the production and predicting ahead of time.
Right. Easy to do now that I've seen the whole episode.
Right. Well, Kent is happy, in addition to us, that the Brain are going to tribal council. He said that it's time for Miles to go home. He talked about his praying mantis thing again. And then he is going out into the woods and he says, there's always a time for scramble. And as he's walking out to the woods and I'm watching, I'm like, oh, that's a great idea. He's going to go idol hunting because he knows that anything can happen.
Exactly what I was thinking. Yes.
Yes, he said he doesn't want to be part of the chaos. So he's making sure he's not part of it.
He pulls his buff over his head and closes his eyes.
I was frustrated after he was just crying to us about how much this game meant to him, and then he's going to sleep during the most exciting part of the game.
Right. And so he has somebody in mind who he wants to get rid of.
Right.
It's not like he's just going along with the group.
So that was an interesting choice for him. We'll see in the future how that works out. But Kalen looks like he's telling Miles that, he may be in trouble.
Right.
And I think Miles handles it pretty well. He said,
Sure.
okay, I can see that I've been overplaying a little bit, so I'm going to take a step back. And he really did. We barely saw him for the rest of the episode.
He said, I'm going to be chill, right?
Right.
He said, I'm going to be chill, and that's exactly what he did. I mean, that took a lot of control for him, self-control to do that. He did not get worried. He just said, all right. I'm going to relax and it's going to work.
Yeah. So Kent and Miles are both just kind of relaxing for the rest of the day. Meanwhile, chaos ensues on the rest of the beach.
Yes.
This felt like an episode, 10 weeks into the show.
Yeah.
Not episode 2. I couldn't believe how much was happening. Indy's back complaining that she's, not like a true member of the Girls Alliance. She's just a number. And Laura is upset that now Rich is being thrown out.
Right.
She wants Rich as her puppet. So, and then Indy goes to the guys and says, I'm looking for options. She went to AJ and said and then she went to Rich and Max and said, this is the plan that the girls have. What are we going to do about it?
I couldn't believe it.
The crazy part. And then they come back from commercial and they play it again just because it's so crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I think like I said before, I think this would have been like an excellent move several weeks into the game to do a flip like this and tell them their plan. That would have been really exciting and really would have shaken the game. But no one has any trust. No alliances have been formed yet. It's just too early to be doing all of this.
Well, what about then she says, I'm watching you, and if you don't do what I tell you to do, I'm going to go after you.
A threat. Right. I know. I couldn't believe it.
So after she walked away, but you know what? If a male had said that, would anyone question it? I don't know. She's just very strong personality. I think she, like you said, she has, a lot of confidence and she wants to make sure she does well in the game. And
she's successful in her regular life. Right. So you can see why she has that confidence.
As a businesswoman. Yeah. Think about it as a businesswoman, how hard that can be. So I think it was interesting. So then she leaves, and then they don't know if they believe her or not.
Yeah.
Right. Her lip was quivering.
Yeah, that's why I feel like if she would have given it a couple more weeks and everyone felt a little bit more comfortable, or, if they had felt threatened, they didn't feel that they were in danger. I think that was the issue, is that they just couldn't even fathom that anyone was coming after Rich.
Why would anyone vote for me, right?
So then they say, let's get out Indy. And that, unfortunately, really backfired to her plan to shake up the game.
Yes.
It did.
Meanwhile, Rich then goes right up to the coven and lays out what Indy had just told him. And now everything goes crazy. They're denying it. Now they're all on Indy. And finally, out of nowhere, Kent wakes up. I'm glad he didn't miss Tribal. I hope he set an alarm or asked someone to get him up. And he's like, what do you mean it's not Miles? So
he should have stayed awake.
He should have stayed awake. But there was just a lot going on. Karen still wants Rich. Everyone else is on Indy. Kent's going for Miles. You don't know where it's going to go. And we head off to Tribal.
Right. Everyone was upset, it feels like.
Yeah. Everyone needed 2 or 3 votes.
Yeah. It's quite the way to go into your very first Tribal Council with all this confusion. Typically the first one, if it's not super straightforward, it's at least a little bit more straightforward than this. So at Tribal, I think Miles did a great job of kind of owning up to his mistakes. Like we talked about, he said, I came out too strong, but he kind of had a plan to fix it. And I think he kind of sold everyone back on the Miles train.
Yeah, he's a social guy. And he likes he likes talking to people.
He did a great job. Meanwhile, someone else didn't do such a great job socially. Kent revealed his big plan to throw Miles under the bus by burning Max's hat.
Another crazy thing that happened in this episode, You think that Indy was out there enough, and then I have to tell everybody, I burnt the hat. They're like, you did?
It was kind of wild because no one was even talking about the hat at Tribal. It just was very...
I feel like the hat is like they moved on. Like it wasn't even mentioned except at the beginning of the challenge when they saw his new hat. But other than that, nobody even brought it up.
I feel like Kent was a little bit insulted that his big move kind of got swept under the rug and he wanted credit for it.
It's like wearing an idol around your neck all day long and then everybody votes for you.
You just want the attention. You want the credit. So Kent said that he would buy Max a great hat when he gets home and kind of insults his cheap hat.
Right.
And the girls kind of don't buy into this, and they say it's just kind of nasty what he did. And I agree. I think that he could have played it in a strategic way, but he didn't. He was just kind of mean to be like, hey, by the way, I burnt your hat.
Right. And the women were very upset. And Max looked hurt, I thought.
I thought the plan was to blame it on Miles. That's what I thought the original plan was. He was going to burn the hat.
He changed it.
Yeah.
He told us that was his... He told everyone at Tribal that was his plan, but he didn't actually do it. They did say that they suspected it may have been Miles. I still don't really get why, but I guess no one was that upset with him. No one really wanted him out.
Well, right. So don't forget, Allie was talking, then Rich interrupts her, and then Karen and so then they were like, wait, I was talking, or something like that. Then Karen and Indy go at it, and it was something else.
A lot of animosity at this Tribal Council. And we're seeing whispers, everyone saying, who do you think this person's voting for? And a lot of whispers back and forth. And this is everything you want to see at a Tribal Council. You've got a burnt hat, you've got whispers. We already had an idol play last night.
People are changing who they're going to vote for.
Right. And what about Rich says he's working with the VBs? And Laura looked a little surprised that came out of his mouth.
Yeah, a little bit odd to kind of reveal your alliances so publicly, especially when that's not the main alliance. But maybe he didn't realize that wasn't the main alliance.
Sure.
It's kind of hard to tell. But yeah, he feels that he's in with the VB crew. So we'll see how that goes. And next, it is time to vote. No idols are revealed tonight. And unfortunately, it ended up being a pretty clear vote on Indy. It was too bad to see her go, especially because she had been doing so well at puzzles.
Right.
I feel like the Brain Tribe is really going to feel the loss of her ability in the challenges. And she seemed like she would have been an excellent player, and I wish we would have been able to see her just kind of stay calm for these first couple votes, and then she would have really had her time to shine, I think.
I wonder if she would have done better on American Survivor when there are tribes of 6 people, right? Don't they lately have 3 tribes of 6 people? She may have done better and stood out more with the puzzle, her expertise in puzzles. That's too bad. Maybe the group was just too big for her to succeed.
Yeah, she may have done better in a smaller group. You're right.
Or she was just too pushy.
Could be.
She should not have revealed what the women, their plan to Rich. That was her mistake, I think.
Yeah, she had...
Not just like all of a sudden like that.
Because Rich didn't like it and the women didn't like it.
She certainly had some mistakes, but she was trying to play the game.
Right,
and she did. She was causing chaos like a good Survivor player. She was trying to flip the vote. She was trying to take control of the game. Unfortunately, it didn't work out for her, but I commend her for trying.
Yes,
right.
She did a great job. I mean, she seems like a great person, and her business career seems very successful.
And then they reveal who voted, and Kent voted for Miles.
Yeah.
Not a surprise.
I knew he wasn't going to change his ways.
But you're like, what? Read the room.
I am interested to see how Kent reacts when they get back to camp, because watching Nash kind of come after Zen a little bit earlier in the episode about him not aligning with his vote, I wonder if he's going to get upset. He doesn't seem like the type of person who's just going to get over it overnight and agree to work with everyone in the morning. So I'm very curious how that's going to go over at camp.
Somebody, when he first found out the plan wasn't Miles, he said, "What happened?" And someone said, "Well, you were..." What'd they say? You were asleep. Why did you leave? Where were you? You weren't here.
Hopefully this will be a lesson to stay awake.
Right.
And then the interview at the end, I saw Indy said that she has no apologies.
Right.
Yeah, good for her.
Right. So she's happy with how she played. Excellent.
She played true to herself, and that's all you can ask anyone to do.
Right.
Right.
Well, it looks like we had another great episode of Australian Survivor Brains vs. Brawn, and we are excited to be back tomorrow for the 3rd episode of the week. In the meantime, don't forget to follow us on Instagram at ATASurvivor, TikTok at ATASurvivor, and send us an email at ATAustralianSurvivor@gmail.com and let us know if you would have made the same decision as Indy, how you would have approached not feeling like the primary person in the alliance this early on in the game. We look forward to hearing from you, and we'll talk soon. Bye.
Bye.